Yo, what is good, people? So you've probably seen that recently me and a lot of other YouTubers have had to release a series of negative videos about how bad the state of not just Battlegrounds but the game in general has gotten. Kabam, they're finally hearing us. They finally put out a post saying what they're gonna do. There's a bunch of waffle, a bunch of dialogue, a massive paragraph at the start of this. I will circle back to that at the end. I'm just mainly concerned about what they're going to be doing to fix Battlegrounds. So I'll give you the short version of that. I'll list off everything they said they're going to do to fix the game mode. So starting this season, season 27, there's only going to be one change, and that is they're going to be buffing the victory track rewards. We should be getting a gladiator circuit rewards buff this season, but we're getting that next season in season 28. So we gotta wait a little longer for that, but the bare minimum, we are getting a rewards buff to the victory track, and that will get a lot more players interested. So that is a small W right there. They're going to be getting rid of the Battlegrounds solo event. I'm guessing they're just going to be putting the rewards they would put into there into the new gladiator circuit rewards. The reason they said they're doing this is because when they put the Battleground solo event in the game, they intended for players to try and win every single match to get the most points, but of course players don't do that. Some high tier players will tank their points and go to the lower tier so they can win matches easier, and obviously Kabam don't like that. Lower tier players don't like playing much higher tier players with much scarier rosters with much more experience, so they're just getting rid of the Battleground solo event, which I think is fair enough. A massive W change which they're making is they're going to be introducing new objectives, like reaching the gladiator circuit by the end of week 1, getting 200 points in the gladiator circuit by the end of week 2, and you'll get rewards for this. I think this is a massive W. This will only incentivize people to play earlier in the season, and it should get Battlegrounds a lot more popular. Yeah, it should get a lot more people playing, which means a lot more matches, which is great. They also said they will be changing the Battlegrounds brackets. They didn't say how they're going to do this, but they said they're doing this to get more players out of the ranks of Uru 3. So they might be expanding the Mysterium brackets, the Celestial brackets. I don't have an opinion on this yet because they haven't explained how they're going to do this. I don't actually have a problem with the current brackets in Battlegrounds, but I don't really mind if they change either, so we're gonna have to see how they implement this before I can judge it. All those changes will be happening in season 28, which again is next season in Battlegrounds. Now let's talk about changes they're going to be making in the future. These ones have no dates connected to them. These are just, they're going to change them sometime in the future. So they are going to be introducing a new currency that will be available in most competitive game modes, because they said it's hard for them to evenly distribute out rewards between all the game modes. So they're going to be making a new currency store where you get this currency from pretty much everywhere in game, like Alliance War, maybe AQ, Battlegrounds, everywhere in game. Apparently this is so they can more fairly and evenly distribute rewards out between game modes, which is fair enough. I do not have a problem with this change, but it's completely up to Kabam to implement it right. They didn't explain how they're going to make it fair and balanced between game modes. They didn't explain how they're going to implement this new store, so I cannot have an opinion on it yet. It could be a good change, it could be a bad change. It's completely up to Kabam. I will be making a extension video to this, theorizing what this new store will be about and what could be in there, but if I did that in this video it would be like 2 times longer, so it might as well be its own one. Moving on to the next change though, there's going to be new matchmaking settings to make it easier to find a match, which is great news. As most of you know if you watch my streams, searching for a match in Celestial, even Mysterium tiers sometimes, can take up to 5 minutes to find a match. That is ridiculous, so I assume they're going to be expanding the matchmaking range, which is fantastic news. This is more a change for real Battleground sweats, high tier Battleground players. You know, when you've been in my streams when I'm pushing top 10 or leaderboard, it can even take up to 10 minutes to find a match. And even though this doesn't affect most people, what it does affect is streams. And this is going to make streaming so much more entertaining in high tier Battlegrounds, because you're going to be finding matches so much faster. Literally the only thing killing Battleground streams was the fact that it took like 10 minutes to find a goddamn match, but finally they're fixing that and it's much appreciated. Definitely one of my favorite changes there. Hopefully they implement that soon, but the next change is a massive W. It's the biggest one. This is going to take them a while to implement for sure, but I'm really excited for this. They're going to be introducing new Battlegrounds modes. So the Battlegrounds we have right now is going to be called Standard Battlegrounds, and I assume every season there's going to be a special mode for Battlegrounds, basically with different deck sizes. No Diddy, but you know what I mean. You'll be able to have a deck of 60 champions, a deck of 15 champions. There's going to be scoring changes, basically a special mode for Battlegrounds. This is great. This is going to give the game mode more replayability. It's going to keep it fresh. It's going to make for interesting content. This is nothing but a good change and I love it. The only thing what worries me about this is the reward situation. Hopefully they keep Standard Battlegrounds having the best rewards, keep that the most competitive, but other than that, this is nothing but a good change. I do want this game mode to have good rewards, don't get me wrong. I just think Standard Battlegrounds should have a little better rewards, because that will be the more competitive, more try hard mode. And this mode will mostly be for fun. You won't want to play this as much if you're a competitive Battlegrounds player. You want to play this mode if you just want to have fun with the game, which is totally fine, and hopefully it has good rewards, but not better than Standard Battlegrounds. They are also going to be removing the match accept button, so once you start searching for a match, you can't back out of it. If you quit out the game, that will count as a forfeit. You'll lose points and your opponent will gain points, which is a great thing, because if you know anything about Battlegrounds in Gladiator Circuit, people like to decline matches to stop people pushing higher, or just to troll sometimes even. So removing the accept button and decline button so people can't decline matches anymore is nothing but a good change that we've been asking for pretty much the start of Battlegrounds. Really happy that they're finally doing that. They're going to be fixing rerolls, so rerolls are going to be guaranteed to give you a different pool of champions, which is great, but I would also really appreciate them implementing free rerolls into every match. I have always personally believed that everyone should have one free reroll per match. There's literally no reason to sell them. No one is spending units on rerolls. There's no way they're making money off that, so there's no reason for them to have a price to them. Everyone should just have one free every match. Maybe they are going to make that change though, and they just forgot to mention it. That would be fantastic, but I don't know man. I don't think they are going to, even though I really don't see why rerolls have a cost to them whatsoever. But we've had plenty of good updates, so I can excuse that. The last one is that they're going to be fixing seeding even further, so the higher you finish in the Gladiator Circuit, the higher you'll start in the victory track. This is going to be great. This will avoid higher tier players matching lower tier players, so it will be avoiding all of those mismatches you normally see at the start of the season, which is nothing but a good thing and will encourage more lower tier players to play. So yeah, that's fantastic again. So that's it for the updates, and I do think every single change they are making is great. I don't have a problem. My only concern is that how fast are all of the changes coming. I know we're getting the rewards buff as soon as possible, which is the most important thing, but all of these other changes to Battlegrounds. They sound great. I just hope they can implement them fast. But yeah, there's not a thing here that I don't like. This is long overdue though. We've needed this update for months upon months, and you've only said you're doing this after we threatened to boycott. Now maybe you did really have this planned, and if you did, please in the future just communicate with us better, because if we knew you were working on all this stuff, we wouldn't have been going in as hard on you. We wouldn't be as worried that the game mode is dying if we knew you were actively working to fix it. So if you really were planning all of this, just communicate it better in the future. There are people who have literally played this game mode for years at this point, who were getting worried that their favorite game mode is gonna die, that all the work they put into it is just gonna disappear, that the community that they love is going to be gone. So of course people were worried that Battlegrounds were dying, and that's why we were desperately trying to grab your attention, and it finally worked with the boycott. Literally all of this could have been avoided with just some communication saying, hey, we're working on Battlegrounds, we've got this and this planned, but it's finally here. And now that it is finally here, we're all really happy and excited for it. Another thing to get very excited for is they're alluding to doing the Realm Brawl again, which, if you know what the Realm Brawl is, I think it happened 2 years ago at this point. This was basically the top 8 placing summoners in Battlegrounds went to Vancouver to participate in a Battlegrounds tournament. I was one of those 8. There was Andrew the Rough, Legacy, Darth Ghost, Nasgaze, I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but I can't pronounce it right. Leave me alone. Zurafa, Fintech, Pepe. It was so lit. I loved the Battleground Brawl. I loved my time in Vancouver, and you bet I will be trying to go to that again. Hopefully they're going to be doing a bigger one this time. They alluded to that, so I'm hoping we can have like a 16-man tournament and we get all the homies in Vancouver for a Battlegrounds tournament. Man, it would be so lit. You can actually watch the first Battleground Brawl. It's still on the Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube streams, I believe. But yeah, man, this is the best news I have heard in a while. I really hope they bring back the Battleground Brawl and they make it as big of a deal as possible. Darth Ghost, if you're watching this, bro, you need to get your ass out of retirement and qualify for this. Hell yeah, this will be so much fun if it actually happens, but they didn't say that it is gonna happen, they're just alluding to it. But before I go, I do want to cover this paragraph a bit, because bro did go on a bit of a rant about how Battlegrounds isn't their most popular game mode, and how a majority of top spenders have never played Battlegrounds seriously. Well, of course not. If that data is from the last year, it's wrong, because you've shown like no love or attention to Battlegrounds. The rewards have not been worth it. So why would Wales be playing the game mode? There's no reason for them to be. And what do you mean by seriously playing Battlegrounds, seriously pushing Battlegrounds? Because there's only 200 spots in Celestial. I'm sure there's more than 200 Wales. So if you're just talking about pushing by Celestial standards, then yeah, of course there's not going to be that many Wales up there, because there's not that many slots up in Celestial. So what do you mean by Wales have never played Battlegrounds seriously? Just because they don't play Battlegrounds a lot, just because they're not pushing in high tier Battlegrounds, that doesn't mean they're not buying champions to make their Battlegrounds deck better. Pretty much every single whale I know plays Battlegrounds. Most of them don't push top tier Battlegrounds, but pretty much every single whale I know does at least play the game mode, enjoy the game mode, and rank buy champions for that game mode. But hey, I don't have their analytics. Maybe the biggest whales, they don't play Battlegrounds at all. There is no way for me to tell. But by making Battlegrounds better, you're only going to get more whales interested in spending, because they're going to want to spend money to do better in Battlegrounds and get those better rewards. I already know a lot of whales that spent so much on Battlegrounds with the state it is in now. So imagine how many more whales you could get hooked on the game mode by making it better, making it worth playing. And now you're finally doing it. So I think you're about to see how much potential this game mode has for not just the players but for you. I feel like Kabam got very defensive here. What they need to realize is we don't actually hate them. Most people don't care. We just want them to fix the game. You don't need to get all defensive in a post like this. All you need to do is tell us how you're going to fix Battlegrounds. That's it. If you just told us how we're going to fix Battlegrounds without that massive paragraph at the start, hell, this post would have been about 10 times better. And people wouldn't be complaining about how long it is to read. We didn't need the first couple of paragraphs whatsoever, man. Stop being defensive because you were in the wrong. You weren't touching Battlegrounds. It hasn't been updated in like a year. There's no excuse for that. So fix the game mode, stop getting defensive about it, and we will be on your side. We will be supporting you for that. Personally, I do think they had this planned before the boycott, because there's no way they thought of all this within a couple of hours of Vega's video coming out. So I do think they were planning this, but they should have communicated that better for sure. But that's about it for the video. To summarize it, I think the changes look great. I think the post could have been a bit better, a bit shorter. We didn't need all the waffle at the start because no one cares. We just want Battlegrounds to be fixed. That's all we want, and you're finally doing it, so we're finally happy. You just need to follow through now. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, if you agree, leave a like, subscribe, all of that stuff. You know the deal by now. Appreciate all of you watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully a lot more of you are interested in Battlegrounds now, because that is the goal at the end of the day.